most of us, they enjoy good times over again in pictures. And now, here's Harriet.
If your family is like ours, you'll have as much fun together indoors as you do out. And now there's a new camera by Kodak that's just the nicest one I know to have around the house.
Now, one inexpensive movie camera takes 1, 2, 3 kinds of movies. Kodak's new Brownie movie camera, turret model, lets you choose the view you want. Scenics, medium shots, or close-ups. Just flip the lens, then sight and shoot. You'll get beautiful panoramas, colorful medium shots, and exciting close-ups, all without moving a step.
Now you can save all the warmth of a Christmas moment like this. Not just the sight, but the sound. In sound movies, with a Kodak Ectosound movie camera. It's as easy as this.
If you think network television is a little boring, start your own network. With the Sony Betamax and the portable Sony videotape camera, you can do just that. You can record what you want when you want, and watch what you want when you want. It's the best family entertainment on television.
One more shot, Ma. Come on, smile. Come on, smile. Come on, smile, smile, smile.
Found footage always has, and always will be, a very hot topic. Lost media in general is widely regarded as intriguing. We love to find things that are mysterious in nature, and catching video of events we didn't know existed is always exciting. The thrill of discovery comes with every old box of items you find stored in some closet or attic, and sometimes that feeling is satisfied. And now, instead of just sharing the footage we may find in an old camera with friends and family, we can upload it to the internet for the world to witness. Such is the case of a YouTube channel named Jack Torrance dating back to the year 2011. According to the channel's About page and the video description of almost every entry uploaded, the user behind Jack Torrance found these movies in 10 rather large boxes at an estate sale for $5 a box. It was being held in a barn about 15 miles west of Austin, Texas. There were some old records which they also bought, some rusted tools, tons of paint cans, various other bits of old useless junk, and these boxes. The people running the estate sale didn't seem to know that they were there and priced them for them on the spot. The films vary in formats ranging from old 35mm stock reels to Betamax. Many of the films are damaged beyond repair, but they are trying their best to repair and clean them up. As they dig through the boxes, catalog, and digitize more videos and audio, they will post more. So far, so good. A classic tale of found footage by sheer luck and inquiry, now available to be shared with anyone who's interested. Oddly enough, we don't seem to get into any sort of 35mm or Betamax film though throughout the entire series, just Super 8mm and VHS. In fact, 29 videos in a row starting with the very first entry are labeled as Super 8 film. All of these uploads are also marked as different sections of reels and fragments, with extremely few seeming to come from a matching source. The numeric system doesn't even hold itself together. The number sequences range between different digit combinations and reach absurd number heights even for lengthy amounts of film. In the first video, we have reel 8.262.216555. Immediately after this, we have 17.5741.5625898984. The longest reels you could get for Super 8mm cameras were about 7 inches in diameter, which held 400 feet of film comprising 11 minutes and about 7 seconds of runtime at 24 frames per second. Some versions ran at 18 frames per second, resulting in 32 minutes of film. Taking 32 minutes and multiplying by 60, the number of seconds in a minute yields 1,920 seconds. Take each of those seconds and multiply by the number of frames to make 1 second, 18, and your result is 34,560. Use the same treatment for 11 minutes and 7 seconds with 24 frames per second, and you get 16,008. If the final sequence of numbers for Jack Torrance's cataloging system is keeping track of which frame a clip began, a major amount of these titles make no sense whatsoever. And you can't describe the length of any of these clips by saying the number stands for how many frames of film there are either. As a catalog system, these titles just don't work. And when you consider the constant repetition of the same paragraph for each and every upload on top of this, you find yourself looking at a really dubious case of found footage. And then there's the name of the channel, Jack Torrance, an obvious reference to the character from Stephen King's novel The Shining, played by Jack Nicholson in Stanley Kubrick's film adaptation. So, we have a channel that repeats the same exact backstory for each and every video description with a catalog system that makes no sense and claims to be found footage of 35mm film and Betamax tapes, but uploads 29 consecutive videos under the title Super 8 Reel, and on top of all of those inconsistencies, the channel is named after a character from a film often cited as one of the best horror films ever made, based on a novel by one of the best horror writers to ever live. We all know that horror web series and alternate reality games are fiction, but part of the fun comes from selling people on the pseudo-reality aspect of that fiction. Right now, Jack isn't doing so great in the illusion department. Perhaps the footage itself is legitimate though. Could we really be looking at Super 8 tapes? And, for a very brief tenure after their ending, some VHS footage shot on cameras using real tape? When conducting any sort of investigation, it pays to know the right sources who truly have knowledge of a field you need to understand. That's why I was extremely fortunate to introduce my friend Nyx Fears to this channel for an experienced look at the case to find out whether or not this footage is really what it claims to be.
Hey party people, I'm Nyx Fears, and this is a short investigation to the truth behind the claims that this footage was, in fact, shot on Super 8mm film. Now, Super 8mm film is probably the most common film reel you're going to find because, back before digital cameras, Super 8 was the way most people could afford to shoot video. Commonly, family trips or home movies, occasionally to document an event, a wedding, birth, ceremony, what have you, was shot on Super 8. The Super 8mm camera for a long time was the definitive camera for anyone who wanted to create home movies because it was easily half the size of the 16mm Bolex camera and could run for much longer than the inferior flat 8mm camera. So the chance that Jack Torrance isn't lying to me and this is Super 8mm isn't really a stretch. But there is a major obstacle to overcome: the age of the film stock. Throughout time, film has dropped off a bit, given the versatility and the ease of use of modern digital cameras, even so far as making it extremely difficult to have your Super 8mm film developed. Many processing plants won't even process Super 8mm anymore, so the biggest question regarding the authenticity of this footage is how old it is. Now, given a couple of the videos on this channel, I would honestly say that these aren't nearly as old as they lead on to be. However, I can clearly say that some of it is very obviously shot on Super 8mm. Not all of it, but some. The clearest sign for me is what is known as a light leak. This is a standard 8mm camera. There's a couple things here that will really help us investigate this footage. Now, a light leak basically means that some light got into the camera and exposed the film a bit more than what was intended. This is what a light leak looks like. Oftentimes, this comes from a misuse of the diopter or the camera not being completely sealed, but it is confirmation that the film was shot on film, and it contributes as well because light leaks are enormously amateurish. It's not the kind of mistake a filmmaker makes, but home movies are full of them. So while going through the channel, whenever you find something that looks like this, it's more than likely actually shot on film. But some of this is obviously not film, like this one. Wow, that looks an awful lot like a filter thrown on top of a standard image. I mean, I could be wrong, I guess, but I don't think I'm wrong. The best case of the usage of film on this channel is this one. Now, what's going on here, I have no idea. But I can tell you that there's some major digital trickery on top of light-leaked film stock. It's creative, I like it, good job, back to Nick, I hope you learned something.
Thank you, Nyx. So, now that we know a good amount of these videos actually do appear to be Super 8 film, albeit some were edited with effects programs, let's dig into the real meat of this channel. What's actually on these videos? Precisely the kind of thing you would expect from a channel that bills itself as found footage. A lot of odd, macabre, and generally creepy bits of film that are allegedly old, but not nearly old enough to get away with the act. In the very first video, we have a man holding what appears to be a malformed baby. It's not a stretch to say that it looks like a baby Jason Voorhees, actually. However, from the way he handles the child with his right arm tucked deeply inside the cloth, it's pretty easy to tell this is a kind of puppet. The man doesn't bother to turn around, and I'm guessing it's for a very good reason. He doesn't want to ruin the illusion. Even so, the constant up and down movement of the baby combined with its inability to blink gives the game away. The second video does a bit more damage to the legitimacy of the ploy. Here, have a listen. Now, the hand at the end is what the video's creators really want you to pay attention to, of course, and the flailing feet in the bathtub are second objective. But those feet don't belong to any sort of organic being, living or dead. While listening to the audio the first time around, it sounded a lot to me like the kind of music that comes from the speaker inside of a toy. A helpful commenter on the video let me know that's exactly what's going on here, and even better than just spotting the comment, I was able to track down real footage of the toy. The toy is called the Happy Easter Bunny, and he just sings about how his ears wiggle and foot taps when he's happy. I'm guessing whoever shot the previous video thought it would sound pretty creepy to hear that at night with no idea where it's coming from. Add in the foot movements and the monster hand, and you can stage a pretty decent hostage setup in the bathroom. The next video is a somewhat static shot of a person's arm laying prone across a Ouija board with a planchette from a very similar game called the Mystic Hand. Interesting, seeing as how we've got a real hand in the shot and just witnessed a monstrous hand in the previous video. This hand appears to be covered in some kind of substance which I suppose is blood. The model of Ouija board used can't be traced. It doesn't seem to be a model under the Ouija name or by Hasco, the company that owns Mystic Hand. We have a very old clip next of the outside of a building followed by a girl putting on some makeup in the bathroom. This carries on for a little while before the scene cuts to black, followed by a clip of a black cloth suspended in midair next to her suddenly dropping. The cameraman reacts with similar surprise. Our next piece feels like it's much more out of place for this type of series than where it belongs. We have someone wearing an old hag mask and even plays around with their eyes through the sockets for the camera as if they're testing their vision inside of that mask. There's really nothing else to this. It's just a person testing out a mask. There's a clip of an old pickup truck next with nothing else happening, followed by a recording of someone wearing a cloak and a plague doctor mask walking through a room. Someone gets dragged across the floor afterward by an unseen person, and another video follows of someone approaching what appears to be the same plague doctor from earlier. As they get closer, the audio distorts to a piercing high note. Our next piece is interesting. We start off with a woman tossing her hair around, followed by a perspective shot that can't be quite discerned. We seem to be looking at more hair while also looking through hair. Just after this is what appears to be a lantern, a trip outside to a statue, a walk through the woods, and the investigation of a dark house while monster noises are heard in the background. The clip after this shows someone walking down a hallway that is suddenly engulfed by darkness. They fall down and don't quite drop the camera on its side, but are still relieved of it by a barefooted person who approaches. Next up is a new type of clip, pure red, exploring a cemetery at night that's bordered off by some chicken wire fencing. The end of the video shows a woman's face enter the camera's view at a close-up before ending. We see a clip of someone being stalked by a tall figure in what looks like an office, followed by someone at a sink standing barefoot. There's a quick shot of a rapid flow fountain syringe, which is an old type of IV bag, and several old needles. Back at the sink, some liquid goes down the drain that doesn't quite appear to be water, and we have interchanging images of a skull's jaw and a woman's jaw. Are you starting to feel as if we're seeing a lot of unnecessary videos here? I wouldn't say that you're wrong. Many of the clips on Jack Torrance contain what some people would deem as creepy, spooky, or disturbing images, but don't really seem to tie in together. For instance, the next clip observes a dummy being uncovered on a chair by a force that we can't see. He then begins moving his arms around, again with no puppeteer controlling him, before flopping down on the chair. He appears to whip his head around to face the camera in a jump cut. Is there anything to this? Possibly. While running through the videos on Jack Torrance, a pattern did begin to emerge of connected pieces. Now, some of the videos do seem like red herrings, like they're just there to help prop up the creepy concept, but that's only because they have no connective tissue to anything else yet. What you can determine by studying the collection of footage is that videos typically fall into one of two categories: story or symptom. And I do believe that, intentional or not, an actual story can be found here. Do you remember the clip of the Mystic Hand board? We know what that is, of course. It's a type of Ouija board. Talk to spirits, whether they're dead humans or supernatural beings. Before this, we see a hand reaching out to move a shower curtain. A hand that doesn't seem natural at all. In the video just after the one displaying the dummy, we see a young girl playing outside, spinning in circles. It ends with her sitting down and turning her head just as a long, familiar hand reaches out from the side of the screen and stretches its fingers. A few videos later, we have a very short clip of the inside of a Freemason lodge with a figure wearing a cape walking by just before the person wielding the camera gets nervous and starts to move. Jump down a few more videos, and we see this. What was the first thing to jump out at you? The hand candle, right? There's more to it. From all appearances, this video seems to revolve around a ritual, and that ritual involves a depiction of some type of creature we can see on the wall in the form of a mask. Much later, in the third VHS video on the channel, we have a continuous run of interrupted frames, like photographs inserted into blank space on the tape. It shows a pair of very familiar monstrous hands entering a closet where the cameraman is hiding, teasing the arrival of a grand reveal. This creature attempting to hunt them down. Does it look familiar? Kind of resembles that mask on the wall during the ritual video, doesn't it? And we've definitely seen those hands before. Though the Freemasons have nothing to really do with the occult, many have associated them with dark acts and rituals for many years due to there being a so-called secret society. It seems that's the parallel being drawn here by the creators behind Jack Torrance. From the Freemason Lodge clip to the ritual video to the Plague Doctor, which appears again later in a building with an elevator gliding by the doors as they close, it seems there's a strong occult angle involved here. Figure in the Ouija board and the creature mask, and you've got a group that has major interest in summoning supernatural beings. It isn't just the creature from the closet either. There's video evidence of someone being chased into a public bathroom by a monster that reaches over the door and under the stall, and another video of a four-legged beaked monster walking through a parking lot. These videos are what I consider part of the storyline of footage. Meanwhile, I see videos like the cemetery trip and some blood dripping under a doorway part of the symptoms. These are the results of monsters being brought into our world either in the vicinity of the home we keep seeing in the series, or because they have an attachment to the camera itself. We also have a reoccurring character. Take a look at this image here from a short clip in which the lighting just continues to illuminate this woman's face. Now take a look at this brightened image of someone exploring the house we saw earlier. It looks to be the same person. As for the woman shaking her hair earlier, we do have another clip much later in the series of someone walking in on a woman in her chair, leaning back and forth. They both seem to have pretty erratic hair going on, though we would need a bit more evidence to say they're the same person. The inability to put dates to these clips or pin down locations presents the issue of not knowing where this story is going and where it's already been. We've seen the Mason Lodge, we've seen the ritual room, and we've been to a house and a cemetery. The bathroom where the girl puts on her makeup makes more appearances in future videos, including footage of someone discovering what seems to be a corpse in the bathtub. Tiled flooring around the doorway also reveals this is the same bathroom from the video where blood leaked under the door. Something horrible happened in one of the houses this story involves, but we don't know what, where, or when. The only thing that seems to get in the way of the story coming together is the nagging feeling that it really may not have been intentional. Going back to the hag mask, we see that whoever was filming had access to extreme makeup effects and costume pieces. This just doesn't apply to the web series creators, but to the characters that may be involved as well. This video speaks. It's saying they know what they're doing here. If this is all a game, this video feels like the public service announcement declaring it. You have the elements here to build a story. You really do. But you have just as many pieces that don't seem to fit with each other, and if they're meant to fit, the connective tissue doesn't exist yet. It also feels like the execution is off. Where is our storyteller? Where are our characters? Why would they copy and paste the same paragraph for every video description and leave the world out in the cold with no other communication? If this was a story, why be so careless with the video titles and be so open to pulling things apart? This channel is really sitting on the fence between being a legitimate web series and a spectacle to reap views off of the creepy found footage idea. But we do have something to tip the balance onto one side. On February 27th of this year, Jack Torrance began uploading again. The video had no description and no dialogue, though there is audio. Under construction. A person enters a house that is quite obviously under construction and begins walking around. This is not an old camera that they're using. It's very new. We can see from the layout of the old bathrooms that this is the same house we've seen in many of the videos. But already, there's a problem as the explorer catches sight of someone standing in a doorway. However, they don't seem to react and carry on. When moving out onto the porch, they look around before heading back inside and we catch sight of the mystery stalker in the reflection of the glass door. You can also spot part of their shorts and their foot on the left side of the frame. In the next video, outside, uploaded on March 2nd, we see the person holding the camera travel outside the house and walk along a chicken wire fence, leading to a statue that seems to mark the beginning of a graveyard. There we have it. Connective tissue that links us back to the cemetery videos. On the way back to the house, they find a small clown doll sitting in a ring of stones and take it. During Under Construction 2, uploaded March 5th, we see that development on the house is going well, but again, this person is not alone. They turn on a light in the bathroom and, after walking out, the light turns off behind them. Our cameraman goes to investigate and sees the doorway to another room is open. Inside, a long shadow pulls away from view across the carpet. And on March 10th, we receive Nighttime Return, in which pertinent discoveries are made as the investigator finds the Mystic Hand board in one of the rooms. Oddly enough, the board is different from the one we've seen previously. This is an even older board, one of the very first models of the Ouija board that's been placed on the ground. On the ceiling in the same room is a happy birthday balloon. And shortly after this comes a major discovery.
Hey, look at that! It's a Super 8mm camera. Not only is it Super 8, but it also is old and has multiple lenses, which could explain a lot about the inconsistencies of the look of the film stock and the light leaks. When the wheel that these lenses are placed on is damaged, light leaks in like crazy. Sometimes it can even flat out destroy your film. So that makes a lot of sense. I'd say this is probably the camera that most, if not all, of the Super 8mm footage was shot on.
It's always nice to have a smoking gun, and it seems we've finally found it. Our investigator moves away from the camera and begins hearing loud banging noises from the other end of the house. On March 20th, we return to the found footage concept with fragment 42T, another Super 8 reel. We're back to black and white and following along as the camera wielder heads up a wooden board walkway to what appears to be a wig in the dirt. The positioning of the blonde wig suggests that there may very well be a body buried up to its neck among the plants, especially with such loose dirt scattered around. However, lack of more visuals means we can't draw the definitive conclusion of a murder victim. Still, we can observe that our person behind the camera has made a discovery, and if it is just a wig, we may have seen it before in the video of the woman tossing her hair around. We're going from modern videos containing ties back to the original footage to old Super 8 title film making the same connections. This pattern continues with fragment 78p uploaded on March 27th, Easter Sunday. Breathing noises can be heard through the audio as our cameraman explores an abandoned location leading to the discovery of a small clown doll. This ends up in a circle of stones with an old picture placed beside it. Seems like our little porcelain friend might be more important than we thought. Would this house happen to be the location from the estate sale where this footage was first found? It's possible, but if the house in the profile picture is meant to be the location, we haven't seen enough to determine if it's the same house in the video. The other photo on the Google Plus page for the channel tells us nothing, more or less an art piece by a photographer with no clear connection to the media presented at this time. And at this point, nothing more can really be discerned about the channel or its standing. Had Under Construction never appeared, Jack Torrance would have left me with the impression that it was a collection of purposefully creepy videos that might have had a loose story placed in later. As much as I hate to use this term, I'm afraid that, had there not been threads of a smarter design inside that have recently been picked up, I would have had to label the Jack Torrance channel as clickbait. Scary or creepy found footage sells. It's very easy to fake, very easy to put ads on for revenue, and one look at the amount of views racked up by the process reveals how profitable it could be. It is sad to say that someone would just churn out empty clickbait like that, but we know the world we live in. However, I don't actually think this is the case for Jack Torrance. It almost came close. It was very nearly within that territory of being easy to dismiss. But seeing the pieces of potential story elements connecting, the sudden resurrection of the channel, and the attempt to tell a story now that uses what we've seen immediately gives me hope. Whoever is running this channel came back to deliver on what they originally made and expanded into something really engaging, something smart. I see a lot of potential in what's happening now with Jack Torrance, and at this particular point, pretty much anyone who's interested can get in on the ride immediately without playing catch-up. The story has technically just begun, and with a built-in subscriber base, it can really start rolling along. I'm going to treat the Jack Torrance experience as a new series despite the age of the channel due to what we're now seeing. A story is just beginning, with all previous footage reels acting as prequel material or future story pieces laid out ahead of time. New uploads have intrigued me, and I'm very interested to see where this goes now, especially after seeing what the person or team behind this is capable of doing. Those makeup effects had to come from somewhere close to the creator. If you'd like to come along and see where the Jack Torrance journey heads with me, I encourage subscribing to the channel and keeping an eye out for new videos. They seem to be uploading regularly now. I'd like to thank my friend and fellow dark media analyst Nyx Fears for dropping by to provide some expertise for this investigation. His channel on YouTube is great and just keeps getting better, with a major focus on films, the art of making movies, and art house pieces that deserve more love. He also makes original content such as short films and has excellent things to say about modern movies and the industry. Definitely go check him out. As for me, I think it's time to put the projector away. We've covered our points on Jack Torrance, and only time will tell what this channel grows into being. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and feel free to leave a comment below on what you think of these $5 boxes of Super 8 footage. Be sure to subscribe for more coverage of odd channels, web series, and mysteries worth exploring. And if you don't have an account on YouTube to do that, you can always follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. Thanks again for joining me in the dark this evening. Once more, I'm Nick Nocturne, and like an old film reel with a deep, dark secret, I'll be back again real soon. Sleep tight.